Hi, my name is attorney Manny Serra. I'm a partner of the Rosen Law Firm, and today we're going to be talking about the difference between resolving your case to a DUI and to a reckless driving in the state of Florida. So getting a reckless driving resolution on an arrest from a DUI or a charge of DUI is a win for various reasons. And they really will depend based upon your profession and your preference. So let me go through what a bunch of those wins are. Right? So in the state of Florida, if you are convicted of DUI, you have to carry what's called FR44 insurance. We're going to start with the money. And the insurance is very expensive. You have to carry it for 3 years. It varies and it fluctuates, much like insurance. But it could be, you hear different numbers, 15, 20, 25K over 3 years that you have to maintain in order to have a valid license in insurance. And that increase in insurance premium is because an insurer may consider you to be a high risk and you have to be insured properly for that risk. So understand that aside from some of the other negatives of DUI, we're going to start with obviously how much it really could cost just in insurance alone. Now, what else is important about DUI in the state of Florida? Under the statute, okay, the state of Florida requires anyone who's been charged with DUI to either beat it entirely in court, meaning at a jury trial or a motion to suppress, something of that nature, or when they resolve the case, they have to have what's called a mandatory conviction, meaning that there is no withhold of adjudication. Now, this can be a little complicated and it's kind of unique to Florida, but think of this pen as a conviction, right? Have you ever been convicted? Conviction and adjudication are synonyms. They're the same word. Adjudication and a conviction are this pen. If you're given it, you are now convicted. You're adjudicated. If it is withheld, you are not convicted. So if you're applying to a job application or something of like that, or an HOA, you don't have to say you've ever been convicted of a crime. However, if you've been convicted or adjudicated, you have to say yes to that. In DUI cases, there is no withholding of adjudication. However, under the statute of reckless driving, there is an ability to withhold that adjudication. So when you're applying for a job application or the HOA or anything like that in your future, or school, you can say you've never been convicted of a crime. Now, why else is a withhold of adjudication and a reckless driving so important? If you get the DUI and you're convicted, you cannot seal or expunge your record. If you get a reckless driving and it's worked out to where you have that withhold of adjudication, you can then seal your record. So that's another added benefit to the reckless driving. It could make it seem almost like it never happened. And so that's a massive win, especially for a lot of our clients where this is their first time offense. So what else is good about a reckless driving? A reckless driving does not have mandatory statutory conditions of a plea or resolution. In a DUI, that could include community service hours, driver's license suspension, a probationary period, a fine up to $1,000, maybe $2,000 depending on if it's enhanced or not, level 1 DUI school, level 2 DUI school, any follow-up treatment that's recommended, a boot, meaning an immobilization device on your car that can be 10 days minimum. There's a lot of other little tricky things that the statute ticks and tacks onto you for the crime of DUI. On a reckless driving, there is no statutorily required punishment. So you have a bit of creativity when you're negotiating with the state attorney. So that's another reason why the reckless driving is so fantastic. So another thing is that society really stigmatizes DUI. Now, my opinion is that DUIs oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes are mistake crimes, meaning where someone just made a mistake and unfortunately now they're being charged with the crime. It's not an intent crime like going to Walmart to steal a PlayStation or going to rob someone or shooting someone or sexual battery. Things like that that are really considered more criminal than DUI. And I'm not minimizing the allegation or crime of DUI because certainly there are some bad ramifications for people acting irresponsibly, getting behind the wheel. But remember, overall, and most times, it's just a mistake, right? And so when you're in society, though, we all know that it's still so stigmatized, meaning that people are really looked down upon for having a DUI. I remember being in college. Oh, did you hear so-and-so got a DUI? When did you ever hear, hey, did you hear so-and-so got a reckless driving? Never. So that's another reason why the reckless driving is a great result in comparison to the DUI itself, because on paper it just looks cleaner.